Hi class, let's chat. Let's welcome to our first chat of the semester. A couple of things. I'm Ashley Suker. I will be your instructor this semester. I know you want to say sucker. It's Suker. I know. I wanted to say sucker too. Okay, so let's talk about this class. I am sure some of you have heard that 391 is terrible. 391 is not as terrible as you may have heard. One thing, 391 was recently redesigned. Over the summer, everything was thrown out and started over. I mean, the learning objectives were kept, but how we achieve those objectives was drastically changed. I will note I am not the instructor that redesigned the class, so you and I may both have complaints about how some of the things are running, but we're gonna roll with it. It's pretty good in its current form. So you may have heard the 391 is horrible. It's not horrible anymore. 391 is going to be challenging. You are going to write a lot. It is going to stretch you, but you're almost at the end of your college career. We want to stretch you. We want to have you practice all those skills you've already learned in a way that can be applied to your future employment or whatever you decide to do, whether you decide to work in public health or not. You will write. You will write a lot. If you are nervous about writing, that is okay. My goal for this semester is to help you be a better writer. You may feel like you're not a strong writer now, but trust me, if you do this work and you try, then you will be a significantly better writer by the end of the semester. You might not be amazing, but you will be significantly better than where you are now. So that is awesome, something to look forward to. Some people are nervous about statistics in this class. We do some statistics in this class, but it's nothing like biostats. It's going to be fairly straightforward, fairly easy. We're going to rely mostly on frequencies and some of those really simple descriptive statistics like mean, median, mode, standard deviation, things like that will help you find a way to do them. We will use JASP in this class, which the majority of you have never used before, because until we redesigned this class, I had never heard of JASP either. So JASP is actually a free program, a free statistical analysis program. And so we're going to use that to help make things a little bit easier this semester. However, that being said, if you choose to run your final data analysis in another program that you feel more comfortable with, maybe you have access to SPSS, maybe you're very comfortable with SAS, maybe Excel is your buddy, you're welcome to do that. But we'll talk about that as we get a little further down. As I'm sure you've noticed, this class gets started quick. We have assignments due this Saturday. And by we have assignments due this Saturday, I'm telling you, I will not accept late work, especially on these initial assignments. So the following things are due. The group time sign up is due, that little Google form. You just click it, fill it out, and submit it. That is due on Saturday. The syllabus quiz is due. You need to know what is expected of you this semester before we get too far into it. The introduction discussion board post is due. That means you need 1 introduction post and 2 follow-up posts for a total of 3. I know I can't get my fingers right. 3 posts. Introduction post, 2 follow-up posts for a total of 3 posts. Please read the prompt carefully, as I will follow the rubric. I believe the prompt asks you for some sort of visual media included, whether that be a photo, a meme, something, you need to include that. As you will notice as we get into this class, the rubrics are very specific, sometimes to the point that you and I will both find them annoying. But we will follow the rubric, and that is so there's standardized grading across all Health Science 391 courses. So read the rubric, please, please, pretty please with cherries on top. Read the prompt, look at the rubric in advance, because you will come back to me and say, why did I lose points? Well, you probably lost points for the following reasons, and it's listed in that rubric. Please make sure you look at those in advance. And then the final thing is, we would like you to try and download and install JASP this week if you are able. If you are not, please do it next week. The reason for that is it is much easier to troubleshoot your JASP problems now. Like, I can't open the program because I can't, than when the assignment is due and you are panicking because it's due in 1 hour. So if you are someone that uses an iPad or Chromebook for your classwork, that is totally fine. There is a workaround for JASP. You just need to make sure and read it. If you are a person that uses a Mac older than, I believe, 2013, but it could be 2012, you may also have some issues downloading JASP, and I believe there are alternate instructions for you as well. But anyone that has a newer Mac or a PC should be totally fine. But we will all be totally fine because there are workarounds for both those older Macs and iPads and Chromebooks. Okay, So one of the things that you probably noticed is that your group time signups are due on Saturday, as we just talked about. Something about that. I will try and put you in a group that can work together at the time you signed up for. However, this is a global classroom. That is not always the case. That being said, because the group work has been changed dramatically in this class, you can be very successful as a group if all you ever do is meet via email, text message, that kind of thing, something that doesn't have to be done synchronously. However, I highly recommend whatever you do that you develop a relationship with your group members. And the reason for that is your group members are diving into the same project that you are. They're going to encounter the same problems. They're going to have problems finding sources for their lit reviews as well. They're going to have problems analyzing the data. Well, I am more than happy to help you. There is no greater tool for you in this class than your group members. It is awesome that you guys get to problem solve things together. The way the new course is designed, it doesn't lend itself to group work or group communication as easily as the old one. However, working together collaboratively is one of the best skills that 391 can give you. Please take the opportunity that maybe you don't have to write the methods section together, but it would be beneficial if you all sat down and talked about it. Why would that be beneficial? Well, you're all doing the same survey, answering the same research questions, and submitting the same IRB application, but we'll get into that later. So get to know your group members. Find a way to work with them. While I think Zoom meetings or Google Hangouts are ideal, I am realistic and know that that might not always work. I mean, for example, in my life, I have 3 crazy little minions. Maybe a group meeting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when all the minions are home from school, not gonna happen, but that's the only time my group members can meet. Maybe we just decide that we're gonna be a text messaging group instead. Maybe you're gonna be a Marco Polo group. Totally fine as well. That way you can record your video and send it at a time that's more convenient to you, and you still have that face-to-face interaction, that conversation, get to know the people, because they really are an asset to you in this class. Another thing you may have noticed is that your research questions are due on the 18th and your synthesis grid is due on the 25th. You will receive your group assignment, so the list of your group members, on Monday the 13th, I would say by noon Eastern time. By noon Eastern time, so you will have plenty of time to do those research questions before they are due on the 18th, but I highly recommend that you send them to me in advance, or at least send me the topic in advance. We don't want you to get too far down this rabbit hole and then decide, and then find out, oh man, I have to redo all of it. Yes, that is a bummer when you have to redo all of it. It is frustrating for you, it is frustrating for me. It starts our semester off on the wrong foot. So elect one group member and have them email me some of those early questions and topics. We are not going to research anything that has to do with drugs. We're staying away from that. We are not asking people about their personal drug use, whether it be marijuana, whether it be opioids, none of those. We are not asking people about anything that is against the honor code. So we are not asking people about sex. We are not asking them about alcohol. We are not asking them anything like that. Just stay away from it. Trust me, it saves both you and I time, because the IRB, which is stands for the Institutional Review Board, which is the ethics board for the university, will not approve it. All major research institutions, whether it be a university, a hospital, even some cities and towns, have an IRB. There is a set of rules that governs them, but the research projects must be in accordance with the standards of that institution. In the case of our institution, all of those things are not, they do not fall within it. They can create unnecessary harm and mental anguish for our study participants. So we are staying far away from that. Okay, nothing against the honor code. Drugs, sex, alcohol, no, 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 no. Other potentially hazardous topics are anything to do with children. So if you're asking about a parent, if you're asking a parent about their personal relationship with a child, that is going to create some issues for you. So if you were to ask me about my relationship with my child, or how I treated my child, or the mental health of either of us, the IRB is going to say no. And the reason for that is projects dealing with minors have a significantly more involved review process than those that do not deal with minors. And because we want your application to be processed in 3 to 5 business days as an exempt application, we are staying far away from that. If you wanted to look at something like mental health, drugs, alcohol, any of those things, or deal with minors, you would need to go through a full IRB approval process, which typically takes between 4 and 6 weeks. We don't have 4 and 6 weeks, so we're going 3 to 5 business days. We're staying away from minors, anything against the honor code. Pregnant women, you're welcome to ask people what they think pregnancy would be like. You're welcome to ask people who have previously been pregnant about their experience with pregnancy. For example, you could ask me about my experience with being pregnant because I'm not currently pregnant. But you cannot ask a current pregnant woman about her experience. You cannot do anything with the cognitively impaired individuals. This often encompasses autism, depending on how you're going to frame your topic. It is just another one of those protected groups that the IRB will not approve in 3 to 5 business days. I don't think this is going to be an issue for you, but any incarcerated individuals that you may choose to survey are not allowed for this class, and also the elderly that are cognitively impaired. So if you were looking at Alzheimer's as a topic for this class, we would need to talk to people who don't have Alzheimer's disease because it starts to create issues when you look into the elderly that are cognitively impaired. These are considered protected populations. So minors, anyone under the age of 18. And that often encompasses asking parents about their underage children, pregnant women, cognitively impaired, elderly that are cognitively impaired, and incarcerated individuals. The reason for that is there has been quite a bit of experimentation on these groups in the past, and now the IRB protects them for their safety, and we are going to respect that. So as you start thinking about your research questions, think about that. Another thing that you need to think about with the research questions is that you are going to collect your data via a survey. That means you are going to write a survey with my direction, and then you are going to give it to people to answer your research questions. So you can't ask a question like, what are the causes of Alzheimer's disease? You can't, because you don't have a way of answering that question using the data you collect from the survey. You do have a way of answering the question, what do adults ages 18 to 35 believe are the causes of Alzheimer's disease, and how can they prevent it in their own life? You do, because you're looking at a belief rather than concrete facts. So anytime you need to measure something, weight, height, things like that, you cannot do that, or the effect of some sort of intervention on behavior or overall health. You don't have a way of measuring that. So we're going to look a lot more at perception and belief than we are at actual reality. So we're just kind of floating out there this semester, but don't worry, you can do it. With the survey, you can do it. I know you're probably nervous about the survey, but you're not going to be as nervous soon. We're going to write a 20 to 25 question survey and distribute it. Don't worry, we have weeks before we get to that point. Right now, we're worrying about that group time sign up, the syllabus quiz, the introduction discussion board posts. Remember, there are 3 of them, and trying to install JASP. Let me know if you have any questions. Look out for that email and announcement early next week with your group assignment. Get in touch with those group members right away and start brainstorming topics. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Another thing, I don't hold formal office hours. I found that when I do that, I'm just hanging out in the Zoom meeting, and it's super fun, but I'm alone. So I'm happy to set up a time for phone calls, Zoom meeting, whatever with you. Please feel free to email me with any questions. Email me first. I also respond pretty quickly to text messages. Phone calls are a little bit difficult because you never know who's going to answer. You might be talking to a 3-year-old. And also Marco Polo is a great way to get in touch with me if you need some face-to-face interaction and we aren't able to set up a time for that Zoom meeting. So don't hesitate to ask questions. You're not bothering me. I am happy to answer your questions. Just a couple of things about that. I will get back to you as soon as possible. Please know that by university policy, I have 24 hours to answer any of your emails during the weekdays and 48 hours on the weekend. If you get to the end of that 24-hour period though, and I haven't responded, please email me again. There's a possibility that your email got lost in the shuffle, and I want to make sure that you have an answer to your question. The other thing is, I am on Eastern time, so that is 2 hours ahead of Rexburg. I go to bed fairly early, so if you send your email at 9 o'clock Rexburg time, you're not going to get a response to that night because I'm sleeping, but I should respond to it fairly early in the morning. I typically will be working between 7 and 10. That seems right, between 7:15 and 10 Rexburg time in the morning, and then again in the evening. So that is probably the time that you will get the fastest response from me, but I am happy to answer any questions that you have. I don't want you to feel like you're alone in Health Science 391 because you're not. I'm super happy to help you. Let me know if you have any questions, concerns, anything like that. Oh, one last thing, the personal application assignment, I believe, has been fixed. It looks like you are all posting to your own individual discussion board, and that is how it's supposed to work. The personal application assignment is supposed to be a personal thing. Go through and look at that rubric. There are 3 sections you have to fulfill. By that I mean there are 3 types of posts. You need job postings, you need case study analysis, and then a choose your own adventure, which is basically spiritual thoughts, and then you have 3 additional posts that you can do whatever you want with. By the end of the semester, I will go through and I will check off that you've done 3 in each of those categories and have those additional posts. Another thing, I will be doing spot checks throughout the semester on those personal application assignments. You won't know when I'm checking. If I check and you have not done the personal application assignment for that week, you will get a 0, and that will be a bummer, but you won't fail the class with a 0 on one week. So don't panic. But I believe there are 3 checks over the course of the semester. I'll do one around week 4, another around week 8, and the final one I will do, I believe, around week 12, and then that last week of the semester when your final paper is due, I will do that final check and make sure that you have all 12 posts. So make sure that you keep up with that over the course of the semester so you don't find yourself missing all 3 of those spot checks, because I will not be providing warning. Another thing with that is we have to work out some details so it doesn't significantly negatively impact your grade. Either I will tell you that I am doing it, or I will tell you right after I have done the spot check, because as soon as I enter points, you will be failing the class. And that is because the personal application assignment is worth 140 points, but you can only receive, I believe, 20 points for each spot check. So it starts calculating all 140 in, and then slowly as I add more, it makes it better. Either that, or I will hide the grade so you do not know, so that it's not calculated into your grade. If that is the case, I will email you if you missed a spot check, if you missed points on the spot check. We will talk more about this personal application assignment, and hopefully it will not be as big of a headache as it has been before, but just heads up on that. Look for any emails, announcements, posts, things like that. Let me know if you have any questions. Have a great week and welcome to class.